We have a new game out called Puppet Masters. What is it and why should you get it? Puppet Masters is a dueling card game. There are many of them out there. We have played them all. But this one is a little bit different. We took some of the criticisms we had of other dueling card games, and we combined them into this game. One of the core tenets of it is you're never out of the game. You always have something you can do at all times, and that is set up in a way that you don't bring your own deck to the table. You use one of the 18 decks that is already in here, and you combine it with whichever ones your opponent chooses. You can both choose up to 2 decks apiece, shuffle them all together, and that's the single draw pile you both use throughout the game. Another thing that's unique about Puppet Masters is the strings concept. There's 2 types of currency. There's gold, which you're familiar with through all board games, video games, anything like that. Gold is a one-time use. You spend it on something, you get that something, and you use it. It's either an item or a spell. It's something tertiary used throughout the game. The strings are more of a core mechanic. It's attached to your character, which we can get to a character in a second. But strings are these fluid currencies you spend to mind control puppets, bring them to your side, have them do a couple tasks for you, and when you're done using that puppet, you give them up, take your strings back, and use the strings to buy another puppet. The puppets can be used to gain gold for you, but they can never be used to gain strings for you. So the strings are a finite thing balanced around a character. Characters? Tell me more. Well, there's 27 in here. They all have different abilities, health pools, initiatives, strings, just tons of replayability. Many different characters can go with. You can do different characters mixed with different decks. I think it's almost impossible to go through every combination of this game. And even when you're doing that, you can adopt different strategies while using the same tools. So I can pick the same character, pick the same decks I want to play with, but this time I'm going to go for buying a bunch of cheap guys out of the deck and using them as chaff to protect myself, get some money, and throw some spells at my opponent. Next game, let's buy some more of the expensive characters in that deck, give them a whole bunch of items, make them one really super powerful champion for us, and have them run out there and kill a bunch of things, get us more gold, win the game that way. Many different ways to play the game. It's a ton of fun. We're going to transition now into showing you how it's done, but I encourage you, please check out our site at puppetmasterprojects.com or search your local area for stores that may have picked up this game. Thank you. So how do you play Puppet Masters? Well, first you and your opponent pick out 2 decks apiece, or less, depending on how you want to do it. Here I picked out the Aquarians, the Demons, Cyclops, and Automatons. Shuffle them all together, as done. Put them off to the side between the spell and item decks. On the other side you have all your tokens. You have strings, scrap, gold, and damage indicators. Then each player needs to pick a Puppet Master from the 27 available. I, for the sake of this, will pick Jin the Wanderer. You can see I have different health, strings, and initiative. Strings are the amount of strings I get. Health is the amount of hit points I have. And initiative is what turn order I go in. Highest going first. And it always stays that way because the characters are balanced around the initiative. They also all have special abilities. Jin's is during the maintenance phase. I can exchange puppets for ones of equal possession value in the arena, allowing me, if something gets damaged, to just buy a new one. Right? So to start off the game, we'll grab the number of strings my character needs. I already gave my opponent their 5. I grab 5, and I put them in the little free strings spot. Perfect. Now that we have our characters picked, we draw the arena. Every turn we draw 4 cards of puppets into the arena. But on the first turn, we draw 4 twice in a row, just to give us a little bit of a boost, because we will be hiring from and destroying units in that central area. So at the start of the game, we just need a little bit of a boost. Just a little bit. All right, cool. Then we start. The game happens in 4 phases, the first of which is the maintenance phase. The recovery phase, where each player gets gold. They can spend on stuff. They repair a string if one had gotten damaged in the previous turn, and you resolve any puppet effects. Some puppets have specific recovery phase effects. They will tell you if that is true. Then we go on to the maintenance phase, where you can shop and buy items, or you can decide whether or not to keep your puppets from last turn. In the first turn, we can ignore that. There's no puppets for us to maintain. Now we immediately go into bidding. The player with the higher initiative, she has 22, I have 29. I will go first. I want to bid on a puppet. We can see here that this one, the Aquarian Soldier, has a possession value of 1 string. You can see that at the bottom there. That means it costs 2 to hire them. They have a maintenance of 1 string. Maintenance 1 string, possession of 2 strings. That means it costs 2 to buy them, 1 to maintain them the next turn, meaning I would get a string back if they lasted the whole turn. So I will do that. I want to start with 2. I put 2 strings on that. My opponent, however, really wants that one. So she can instead offer 3 strings and buy it instead of me, but she pays more. And now she gets the Aquarian Soldier as I let her have that. I could have bid 4 on it, but it is not worth that to me. All right, so she got the puppet I wanted, but she had to pay more for it. Instead, I will buy this imp. He has a possession cost of 2 as well. So I'll put 2 on him. My opponent can't outbid me. They only have 2 left, so I get him. Great. My opponent maybe wants to buy this next imp for 2. I will let them have it. And then I, with my 3 strings left, will buy this Aquarian Noble. So there. Possession phase, we're done with 3 out of the 4 phases, just like that, just that easy. I have 2 puppets, they have 2 puppets. We go into the action phase, where puppets can attack or defend or do whatever. So when you look at a puppet card, at the very, very top, there is this little number 2. That means the imp can do 2 actions before getting tired. If he gets tired, I can spend 3 of my personal health to make him do an action again, and after he does that action that wounds you, he is officially done for the entire round. Now he can attack the center puppets to get me money, or he can attack my opponent to try and deal damage, or get less money. If you kill an opponent's puppet, you get half the gold value rounded down. This is to incentivize you to use the arena to hunt in there for money. For the sake of this, I will use my imp to attack the pirate raiders. Things that are defending, things you are attacking, do not attack back at you. It is perfectly safe to do so. So he has 1 armor, I have 3 damage. The armor blocks 1. My 3 damage goes through, meaning I do 2 to him. Put 2 little tokens on him, he's done. I've done 1 action with my imp. I turn it slightly. It's however you can best remember that he has done an action to keep track of what has done what. On the other side, my opponent will use their imp to attack me directly. I accept that. I'm fine with giving up a little bit of health. I'll put 3 damage markers on myself. Good, they got a little bit of damage down. I will use my Aquarian Noble. She has a special ability. Once per round, Aquarian Noble may order a unit in the arena or on another player's line to attack instead of my own. I will order my opponent's imp, tiring it out, to kill this pirate raider for me, finishing it off and getting me 2 gold for killing it. Pirate raider was not worth a lot of money, but they also weren't that hard to kill. Perfect. Now it's my opponent's turn. The imp is all tired out. They're not going to do anything with that. They will instead use the Aquarian Soldier to attack me again with 2 damage. I will block that with my imp. I am fine using him to protect me, so he takes the damage instead of me. He dies from the effort. I lose a string. No, I don't lose 1 permanently. I put it in the broken strings pool. I put 1 in the free, and it is totally fine. My opponent gets 1 gold for killing the imp. He was worth 2, but rounded down since he was on my line. Now, my Aquarian Noble went once. She only has 1 endurance, so she can only do 1 thing. Otherwise, I'd have to hurt myself to use her. I'm just going to opt not to do that. And my opponent will do 2 more damage to me with their Aquarian Warrior before we call it good. Okay, perfect. At the end of the round, everybody readies back up for what they are. In the recovery phase, back at the top of the round, I recover a string. I get a gold. My opponent recovers a string. They didn't break one like I did. And they also get a gold. Now, we all pay maintenance costs instead of possession costs. So my person used to cost 3. I paid 3 to get them. They now cost 2. So I get a string back. Boom. I have more to spend on the next person. My opponent goes down to paying 2 strings for 1 for each of their puppets. They pay 2. They have 2. I have 1. Perfect. Lovely. Now, the last thing I will point out in this brief little tutorial, as we start again, we'll start the maintenance phase. We'll draw 4 more puppets that we can hire and or kill for the gold. If I want to shop, I spend 1 gold. Whoops. Spend 1 gold. And I can look at either the items or the spell shop. And if I do choose the spells, I draw 3 of them without showing my opponent, flip them over in my hand, and I can look through at what they do, and their costs are in the top right. We can see this one, what must be done, is worth 2. I can buy that, so I will just tell my opponent I am buying 1 spell. I won't show it to them. Put it face down next to me, spend the 2 gold, discard the other 2 cards, and that is that. They do not know what I bought. Spell cards can be used They will say what phase they can be used. This one says the maintenance phase. Sacrificing puppets this turn has no string cost. Perfect, so that means it can be used in the maintenance phase. Items can be equipped during the maintenance phase. If I had bought one of them, I could be attaching them to the Aquarian Noble on my line for the next upcoming round. Unless the item says otherwise. Some items say attach this in the action phase when you are attacked or something like that. They will tell you when they can be used at other times, right? And that's Puppet Masters. I hope it was relatively simple. It's complicated enough to be fun for multiple playthroughs. It can sometimes be a bit to start a new game, so I really hope that this video helped you get a start on it, and I really hope you guys have a good time. If you have any questions or problems, you know where to find me, either on YouTube at HumanBoyYesYes, or of the same name on discord.gg, or you can check out my website, puppetmasterprojects.com, or the Board Game Geek site for Puppet Masters as well. Leave a comment there. I am always looking around and ready to answer questions.